Okay, let's just jump right in. The chatbot? It's dead. Done. It's basically a fossil from an AI era that's already behind us. We are smack in the middle of this massive shift, right? We're moving from AI that just talks to AI that actually does stuff. And if you're building products right now, you gotta understand this. It's not just important, it's everything.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. The era of the conversationalist is over. The era of the operator has begun. Think about it. For years, all we cared about was making AI that could chat, explain things, summarize articles, and they got incredibly good at it. But here's the thing. Explaining a problem doesn't make it go away. The future? That belongs to the operator, the AI that doesn't just talk about the world. It gets in there and changes. So where do we go wrong? Well, the whole last generation of AI fell into what you could call the read-only trap. Seriously, just think of them as search engines that learned how to talk. They're amazing at finding information and telling you all about it, but when it's time to actually do something, they're totally powerless. They can read you the airline's rebooking policy word for word, but they can't, rebook the flight.
And to put it in terms any engineer will get, a traditional chatbot is, well, it's biologically incapable of doing work. It's not a bug, it's a feature of its design. It's a fundamental limitation baked right into its architecture. They were built to spit out text, not to change the state of a system. And that right there, that's the root of so many of those frustrating experiences we've all had.
Okay, so if we're going to build this next generation of AI, we have to get really clear on what we're talking about. What does doing things actually mean? Because work isn't just some vague business buzzword. It has a super specific, really powerful definition in computer science. And honestly, understanding it is the key that unlocks this whole new way of thinking.
And here it is, the big idea. In computer science, work is a side effect. That's it. It's any process that actually changes the state of the world outside of the program itself. So just generating a bunch of text in a closed loop, that's not work. But changing a record in a database, that is work.
And these examples make it super clear, right? Updating a database, sending an email, moving money, or, rebooking that flight. These are all side effects. They're real, tangible changes to a system. A classic chatbot, by its very nature, doesn't produce any side effects. It's a passive observer. It can tell you what's happening, but it can't act. It literally cannot do work. All right, let's make this really concrete with a scenario that, probably keeps product leaders up at night. We're going to call it the homework problem. And for our case study, let's imagine a company called Skystream Airlines. This is where the old way of doing things just completely and utterly falls apart. Okay, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. On the left, you've got the chatbot experience. Our user is stressed, they miss their flight, and they say, "Rebook me." The chatbot checks the system and says, "You are eligible for rebooking. Please see a gate agent." It just gave the user homework. The problem isn't solved, it's just been pushed down the line. But now look at the right, the agent experience. Same user, same problem. But the agent says, "I have held a new seat for you. Should I confirm?" Boom. One word from the user, yes, and the problem is just gone. They get to skip that massive line at the gate. See the difference?
And you know what? This isn't just about a slightly better user experience. This is the bright, shining line between a cool tech demo and a real product. One is a toy that can talk about your problems. The other is a tool that makes them disappear.
So the real difference here, the thing that separates these two, you can think of it as a giant glass wall. It's this invisible but totally solid barrier between talking about something and actually doing something. So here on the left, you see the chatbot. It's stuck behind that glass. It can see the production database.
Sure.
It can even describe what's in it perfectly, but it's all talk. It has a voice, but it has no hands. It can't reach through that glass and change a single thing.
But now, look at the agent. It's been given what we're calling manipulators. And in the real world, what are those? They're tools. They're API credentials, function calls, access to SDKs. These are the hands that let it smash right through that glass wall and interact directly with the production systems. And this diagram really, it tells the whole story. This is the single biggest shift happening in our industry right now, and the slogan couldn't be simpler. Chatbots talk, agents act. We're not building conversationalists anymore, we're building operators.
So let's put a pin in it and define this new agent paradigm. What is an agent? It's simple, really. It's a large language model with a license to act. We're taking the brain of an LLM and we're finally letting it out of its read-only prison and giving it the power to actually execute.
And this isn't some kind of black magic. It's just good engineering. You start with the same core LLM that you'd use for a chatbot. But then, step 2, you give it a tool belt, a bunch of APIs it can call. And this is the crucial part. Step 3, you teach it to output structured commands, something like JSON, not just plain English. That's how it can trigger those tools and actually get work done.
And let's be real. Let's bring this back to what actually matters: creating value. Your customers, your company, they don't pay for an AI to write a nice poem about their problem. They pay for the problem to go away. An agent that can actually call an API to cancel that subscription or rebook that flight is delivering, it's an order of magnitude more value than a chatbot that can only tell you how to do it yourself.
So this kind of leaves us right on the edge of the next big challenge, doesn't it? We figured out that we want an AI that can act. It needs to break through that glass wall and mess with our systems. But an LLM, at its heart, is just a text generator. It thinks in words. It doesn't have fingers to push buttons. So the big question is, how exactly do we teach a model that's built on language to reliably click a button? Whoever solves that, well, that's the next chapter.